Hi, Phil. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to see you. Thanks so much for having me. Good to be here.
So, Phil, we want to kind of rely on your expertise a little bit regarding being a financial advisor, but we see a lot of fraud out there in the financial world. What are some of the best tips that you have to help people avoid investments that are just fraudulent? That's not going to do anything for them. What are the best tips that you have for investors?
Great question. The number one tip, I think, first and foremost, is kind of what I call the golden rule of investing, which is if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And that at the end of the day is at the root of every Ponzi scheme we've ever seen, every crackerjack investment scheme that someone's ever come up with. If you, the investor, are presented with something that just seems like this can't possibly be this good, it's probably not. And then secondly, it's all about just doing your due diligence, do your homework, right? Really, when we're talking about investing, the risks that are involved there are so high. You really want to make sure that you really dig into the background of not just the investments themselves, but the people that are selling you these investments, particularly if it's not an advisory relationship where someone's brokering a transaction, whether it's a security or a real estate deal or whatever all else. You want to make sure that you're really doing your homework, doing some third-party vetting. In other words, maybe get some references, other investors. And a great way to avoid it too is just, to seek out investments that other people have had success in. Similarly, talk to your friends, talk to your family, and get referrals to investment advisors or financial advisors that you can trust.
I mean, you brought us so many questions. I'm actually writing some of this stuff down because you brought in so many interesting topics. So the first thing, I know this is second nature to you, but for our listeners that may not be as sophisticated as you are, can you explain a little bit about an advisory role versus a brokering role?
Absolutely. Great question. First of all, I am not that sophisticated, so don't let me fool you. But yeah, great question. And that's really a huge part of how you protect yourself as a consumer, right? In the world of financial services, there are a bunch of different people and a bunch of different roles that all kind of wear the same hat, right? They're financial advisors. That could be a broker at a broker dealer or registered representative, which they're often called. Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, you have investment advisors and investment advisor representatives. And the real difference is how they're compensated and the standard that they're held to. On the broker-dealer side, and that's most of your big banks and wirehouses, right. Most independent advisors, typically they're going to have, even if they have a relationship with an investment advisory firm, they're typically going to have a broker-dealer license. And what that means is that they can sell products and securities and receive a commission for them. Right. So basically, I sell you a stock, the brokerage firm takes their cut and gives me a piece of that cut as a commission on the sale of that stock. That's a brokerage relationship. On the opposite end of the spectrum is what we do, which is being an investment advisor, which we don't really sell products. Instead, what we do is we charge a flat fee for managing all of our clients' assets in one pool. Right. So instead of getting commissions from other people's businesses like, this investment company and this investment company, the only people that pay us are our clients. And in that way, we're more aligned with our clients' best interests. It's not to say that broker dealers are bad. They're not. There are a lot of great brokers out there. And for a lot of people, that makes sense for their financial circumstances. But the important thing is really to understand the difference and understand what's going to make the most sense for you.
So that's a really good point. So I think a lot of people are just thinking financial advisor, but it can actually be in two different roles. So in the broker-dealer role, they're essentially getting an incentive to push you towards certain products, while a financial advisor in your role wouldn't essentially get an extra incentive to buy stock A versus stock B.
Correct. Yeah, we don't get any change in our compensation when we change investments for our clients.
Now, is that something that a broker needs to be clear with their clients about? Like how much they need to tell them? Or is it just something like, well, here's a 75-page contract and here's some like small print that just puts that in there?
Yeah, and usually that's it, right? You get a prospectus that's about this thick and they're like, you should read this, it's important. And you're like, yeah, let me get right on reading all 150 pages of it. But yeah, it's something that's become a lot more under the spotlight lately. Those of you out there that may follow some of this in the news, there's been a big debate about the fiduciary standard. Fiduciary is a word that gets thrown around a lot. It sounds kind of scary and mysterious, but fiduciary really, what fiduciary means is that just like you as an attorney or as your CPA who does your taxes, I'm held to the same standard as an investment advisor representative where I have to act in my client's best interests. Right. Where a broker can sell an investment as long as that investment is suitable for a typical person in that circumstance. So it's basically a great analogy I heard by author Michael Kitts that says, the broker standard is basically, I'm going to sell you a suit that fits, but the fiduciary standard is I'm going to sell you a suit that fits that also looks good on you too. It's tailored to your specifications. Right. The pants aren't too long. The sleeves aren't hanging down over your hands. And that's really the difference.
That's so important. You also talked about vetting and getting information out there. Now, you hear these people like, oh, I have this like YouTube person I follow or a social media person I follow. And there's so much information out there. What are some of the reliable resources that a person can kind of look at to make sure that a person that they're engaging with is vetted and that is someone who is responsible and has a good reputation in the community?
And that's a great point, Jason. There's so much what I call like white noise out there. Right. And financial world now where you've got so many talking heads talking about so many different things, and you hear buy AMC or Bitcoin or to the moon with all of these meme stocks, and it's hard to understand really where to look. And at the end of the day, there are a couple places you can really find out a lot of valuable information if you're thinking about working with someone either as a broker or as an investment advisor. The first one is Broker Check, which is actually a website that's run by FINRA. FINRA is the regulator at the federal level that oversees all of the broker dealers in the country. And Broker Check is a really nice, easy, user-friendly website where you can go and you can search for registered representative or financial advisors disclosures by name, by state. There's a lot of different ways you can search. And what you'll see there are a couple different things, and they're really valuable information anytime you're thinking about working with someone. The first is you're going to see, like I mentioned, if they have any disclosures. Now, not all disclosures are necessarily bad. Some financial advisor disclosures are more about conflicts of interest. For example, if they own a portion of a family business and they receive income from that, they're required to disclose that as an investment advisor. Conversely, on the other side, there are the bad disclosures. And those could be consumer complaints, personal bankruptcies, criminal background. Anytime a financial advisor, whether they're a broker dealer or an investment advisor, any of those things happen, they have to disclose those. Those are publicly available information. And so a lot of folks don't know that information is available. And what I would tell you is, it's not to say that everyone, like I said, not all disclosures are bad. And it's not to say that a financial advisor could be a stand-up human being and an excellent financial advisor and still have a miscommunication with a client that results in a disclosure. So one might not necessarily be a disqualifier. But if you look up someone you're thinking about working with and they have 5, 6, 7 different disclosures on there, probably best to look elsewhere.
Right. No, that's really important. Now, Phil, when should be people calling you? Your job is obviously not to check up on all these other brokers, but when's a good time for people to think, I want to email Phil, I want to talk to Phil on the phone that we have up here. When's the best time to start talking to you?
Yeah, anytime you get to one of those life inflection points, right, where maybe you're buying your first house or buying a new house or thinking about contemplating some other large purchase, or you had a job change, whether you got a new job or you lost a job, or if you're thinking about getting married, or if a child's thinking about getting married. Any of those moments in your life where all of a sudden finances come into play with the bigger picture, right, with the life stuff, that's a great time to really either revisit things with your financial advisor if you've got one, or if you don't, or if you don't feel like you're getting the attention you need, to call a financial advisor like myself and the team at Keenan Financial. We really lead with planning, right? We don't We don't try and beat the markets. We don't try and go out and, moonshot stocks or anything like that. What we try to do is put a comprehensive plan together to really act more as our client's family CFO. And we manage assets to manage risk, not to try and go out and beat the street. It's really about what are your objectives and how do we get you from point A to point B in the most efficient manner possible with the least amount of risk possible.
Right, and I think people forget that, if they're about to get an inheritance, that's a good time to talk to you. If they're about to get married to do an assessment, that's a good time to talk to you. If they've changed jobs and there's a buyout, that's a great time to talk to you. And then if they have kids, that's when you really need to assess a lot of things in your life. But I think those are important things. But, and it also kind of reflects on the fact that when people are coming to talk to you, that they are thinking about more than just themselves and protecting not only themselves, but their family. And the way that you have your approach of how you always have your client's best interest at heart first, I think makes you a superior advocate for them. So I really appreciate you coming on today. I hope we have you back again soon to explain more of the financial world, and I hope everything the best.
My pleasure, Jason. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to seeing you soon.